Hello, and welcome to the fifth and the second last session of the Android Study Jams 2020, organized by our chapter, DSC BVP Pune. So today's topics are advanced layouts, user input, and polished UI. And we are going to learn these by making our own GST calculator app. So let's move on to a basic overview. So this is the today's schedule. So there are three sections. The first one is of 30 minutes, the UI part. The second one is of logic part, also of 30 minutes. The third part is of polishing the user experience, which is of 40 minutes. Also, I would like to tell you that previously there were 2 units in the Android basics of Kotlin, which is basically the new to programming track. But there is one more unit added, unit number 3, which is called navigation. And there are 4 pathways in this unit, as you can see in this screenshot. So you can expand your knowledge on the Android app development by navigating through this unit. And of course, as the new pathways have come, you can earn new badges with them. So these are some interesting badges you can showcase on your developer profile. And now let's talk about the GST Calculator app. So this is the layout and blueprint of the GST Calculator app I was talking about earlier. It consists of different types of layouts and user inputs that can help achieve our goal, which is to take a net price from the user and then calculate some percentage of tax upon it, and then add the total tax to the net price and display the gross price. So without further ado, let's see how it's built by first moving to our first section. Okay, now let's move on to building the UI. Okay, so now we will look at our GST app, which we are going to build. And as we build through our GST app, we are going to look at how layouts work in this advanced layout section. Okay, so as you can see here on the right hand side, this is the basic layout that our app will consist of. Actually, these 4 sections which you can see here display the result of the tax and your gross price, which will be the result. So I actually built this to look much beautiful, but you don't have to build this. We will going to be adding a text view. So this is a much more complicated layout. So we are not going to do this. Okay. So let's see from the top how the XML file of the layout consists of. So first we have the scroll view. Okay. So if we resize our app or turn around our phone into the landscape mode from the portrait mode, then the scroll view will automatically resize our app so we can scroll through the result and our activity. Okay, then inside the scroll view we have our constraint layout. Then inside the constraint layout you can see there's an image view which consists of this icon. Okay, and then beside on the right side you have a text view, the tax category, and then the radio group, which displays all the radio buttons which you can select for different tax values. And underneath it is our another image view which consists of another icon, and then we have an input edit text. So user can input the net price here, and then user can click this button which is underneath it to calculate the gross price, including the tax. Okay, the central GST tax and the state GST tax here. Okay, so this is the basic layout that this app consists of. We are going to build somewhat like this, but not much complicated. I will be uploading this GST this app's code on the GitHub, so you can find it there. Okay, so let's start by creating a new project for our GST calculator app. Okay, so empty activity we will select, Then the name can be GST Calculator. Package name com.example.gst calculator. Kotlin language minimum SDK 23. It's okay to use 23. Your app will run on 84.9% of devices. This is not always consistent, so it's an approximate value. Okay. Now we have created a new project from scratch. Now let's design our app's layout. Okay. So let's go into the activity main. Now this section consists of the layout positioning of the constraint layouts and the radio group positioning and the text views positioning. Okay. First we will place this text view inside our constraint layout. Okay. And then we'll place this radio group here. And then we'll place the edit text. Then we'll place the button, and then another text view. Actually, two text views, one of total text and then one of the gross price, including the GST. Okay. So here, as you can see, this is a basic hello world text view. Okay. So we can go ahead, delete it, and then we can do what is first we have to change it, the layout view, so that the layout editor actually positions it according to our emulator. So here you can see we are using a Pixel 4 API 29. Okay. So make sure you select exactly the same, so you know what you're building for. Okay. And you can of course test on various Android sizes, screen sizes and devices. Okay. So let's dive right in and position a text view by dragging and dropping onto the constraint layout and then positioning it like this. Okay. As we have seen in previous sessions. So now we have positioned the top and the start of this text view. Now we will give 16, constraint from here, left margin. The left margin we will give is 16, and from top we can also give 16. Okay. So the ID here is we can change it from the default one, so it will be like text category text. Okay. Refactor is done. Now the layout width will be same wrap content, layout height same wrap content. Okay. Now we have to change the text. Okay. So let's change the text. We will change the text to select text category. Okay. Then we will do one more thing. We will change the font family so it looks nice. Now the sans serif is okay, but we can also choose a new font. So you can click this option here and then click on add and then click on more fonts. Search for your favorite font. I'm using Open Sans. So click on Open Sans, choose regular or anything you like from here, then add font to the project. Okay. It adds the font, and then if you click OK, it then switches your font to Open Sans here now. Okay. The text size is 14 SP. We can actually increase it also. So let's make it 16 SP. Okay. Now the select text category is done. The color is okay. Size is okay. Now we have to add, let's see, we have to add a radio group, okay, like this. Now in constraint layout, every child view which is contained inside the constraint layout should be constrained, okay. It should be constrained from the top, from the left, from the bottom, from the right. The minimum constraints that you can choose is either from the left or right, and either from the top or bottom, okay. So if you have to choose, then you can choose, right, like top left or top right, or like bottom left or bottom right. So you have to either choose one of the left right constraints, or one of the top and bottom constraints, okay. So let's drag a radio group. So go into buttons, and you can select the radio group from here. You can also search it right here, so it can just simply display radio, okay. So this is the fastest method to search it. Now we will drag and drop the radio group here. It creates a new radio group, okay, simple. Now what we want to do is, you can see the buttons here, the radio buttons, okay. Now the radio group consists of these buttons. So let me show you. See the radio group here, okay. The radio group now consists of what? 1 2 3 4 5 radio buttons, okay. So we will now add 5 radio buttons to it. You can drag and drop. You cannot actually drag and drop here. You have to drag and drop inside the component tree, okay, inside the radio group, not here, not in the constraint layout, in the radio group, okay. See, you can see the radio button here. So we will go ahead and actually drop 5 radio buttons. So this 1 2 3 4, one more, 5. So now we have the group of 5 radio buttons. Now what we want to do is position this, okay. So this radio group is not constrained yet, okay. Now let's position this radio group. So select this from the component tree. You can see the constraints here. Now first constraint it to here, text category, okay. So by constraining it, the left one to the left of the text category, it will automatically select the margin. So if you can see here, it's 0. It's showing 0 because it's relative to this, okay, not relative to the screen, the left of the screen. And then you can constrain it to top, and it just jumps above, okay. So what you can do is select the radio group and select the margin from here. I will choose 16, so it's okay. Now we have all the radio buttons, okay. So let's first name our radio group with a specific ID. So let's see, text category group, okay, like this. So now it's text category group. Now what we want to do is first we can modify the text appearance, the font family, and the text size, okay. So we will keep the text size at 14 sp, and we can actually modify the font family. So for modifying these things for multiple groups, you can select them by holding control, okay. Just hold control and select. See, everything is selected by holding control. Now you go to font family and select Open Sans, and see, everything is adjusted. And then we can name our radio buttons, okay. So what we can do here, actually we can copy it. So we have the strings. I have extracted the strings into a string.xml file in the resources folder. See radio text 1 string. So this consists of this radio text cut and semi-polished stones 0.25%. Okay, so we can do that. So let's copy this entire radio group section actually. Okay, and let's go to our XML file here and paste it right here. See? And as you can notice, the ID I have for the ID I have selected the percentages. So R underscore 0.25 for 0.25%, R underscore 5 for 5%, 12% GST, R underscore 18%, R underscore 28%. Okay, so the 5 percentages of the GST that is calculated. So as you can see, there is an error. Cannot resolve symbol the string radio text 1 because we haven't added yet. Okay, so we will go under the values folder inside the res folder. Then we will open strings.xml. Okay, then you can add those strings right here. Okay, so we can select from our sample app the values. See, these are other values. I've organized them. So I will just copy the radio button strings. Okay, and then put a space so we can, actually see what's separated and what's not. Okay, as we close the file, you can see everything is automatically adjusted here. And make sure you have the layout width of the first radio button to wrap content, layout height to wrap content, and then the next button and the other buttons from there on should be of width match parent, height of wrap content, width of match parent, height of wrap content, and so on. See? Okay, so as we have completed the radio group, now we can move on to our next view. Okay, so next view is our user input view, that is called edit text. Now we can edit, we can select the edit text from this text palette. Okay, so go to text section and then select the text. There's a text input layout also. This is the material one. Okay, we are going to select it in the upcoming section when we are going to refining the UI. Okay, so you can select it. This is I think it's called the multi-line text from here. Yeah, if you drag and drop here and see the code, see it's edit text. Okay, so what edit text does is it's a view that takes user input. Okay, and you can actually define what the user can input here. So user can input a number, okay, a date, his name, his email address, his password also. Okay, so you can define all these properties in this view. So let's define one by one. Okay, so before defining any property, let's constrain it. So the leftmost can go here, so it's constrained, everything is constrained. The top can go right here. Okay, and we can select some margin from the top, so we can select like 16. Okay, so this is our input now, and actually we can make it so that it can expand to the full full of our screen height, width. So you can constrain it to here, okay, the right one. Then after constraining the right one, you can select the layout width to match constraint 0 dp. So it just expands here, okay. And from the right, you can select like 16. So everything looks okay. So 16 from here, 16 from here, it looks good, okay. Now we have the edit text. Don't forget to change its ID. It's the default one, edit text, text multi-line. So let's delete it and let's say input price, okay, or input net price, or let's say input price, okay. Refactored, and now it's good. Now let's say we have to change other properties. Now what other properties can we change? Now here you can see in the common attributes, the first input type is text multi-line. We don't need it. We don't need multi-line text here. We just need a price, okay, and the price is in number. So we just need a number. So select the number here, okay. After selecting it, click apply. Now user can only input number here. No numeric text or any alphabets, just number, okay. Now the hint. Without hint, user can determine what he has to input here. So we have to provide a hint. So let's say enter net price, okay. So we are saying to the user that you can enter the net price here, so we can further calculate it, okay, the GST. Now moving on to the button, let's add a button right below the edit text. Let's constrain the button also, and top here we also want the button to expand. So we are going to constrain it. Actually, we can constrain it toward the rightmost of our screen, and we can also do that to our edit text view. So you can see the arrow goes towards the edit text. So now as we have constrained it, now let's set some of the margins, or before the margins, let's change to match constraint. See, the button expands, okay. So you don't have to set the margins because it's constrained to the edit text, and when it's constrained to the edit text, it will automatically determine the margins, but it will not show here, okay. You can see everything in the code. See here the constraints: app, layout, constraint, end to end of the input price. See, the end of the button is constrained to the end of the input price edit text, okay, and the constraint to the start constraint of the button is constrained to the start of the input price, and the top is constrained to the bottom of the input price, okay. Here now we can set a margin from the top. So I will select 8. Now our user input part is done, okay. User will see it, user will input it according to the categories provided. Now user will expect a result, okay. Now how can we show a result? In our template app here, you can see I have provided 4 text views. These are 4 text views, okay. See, this text view, this, and this. These 4 text views are inside 2 linear layouts. The first linear layout is this big container, okay. You can call it a container. Then inside this container linear layout, we have 2 other linear layouts which are horizontally placed. First one is the top 2, contains the top 2 text views, and the second one is the bottom 2 text views, okay. So I have done it like this. You can do it however you want, but for the sake of simplicity and time, we are going to use just simple two text views here. So and we can actually also define the background color also, so there's no problem in that. Okay, so let's see. Drag another text view so it can show the result. Constraint it to the button. Okay, so right here, the top one to the top of the button. The text view is now constrained. Now the text view should match constraint, so our result can be displayed consistently. 16 is good enough. Now this text view will show the result, which is the gross price. Okay, first we will show the gross price, then we will show the total tax to the user. Okay, combined central and state tax. So let's say gross price text. Okay, let's say gross price text. Refactor. Now, as we can see, the layout is already constrained. Now we can adjust some of the attributes. The default text is text view here, so we don't want to display our default of text view to the user. So what we need to do is we can leave it empty. Okay, just no problem, just we can leave it empty. Then font family, open sans. Text size, we have to adjust the text size to make it more visible to the user. I'm selecting 18 SP. Okay, 18 SP is enough. And you can see here a symbol of settings icon. This icon indicates that we can, type here like gross price. Okay, now we can see gross price here, but we can, if we run the app, then we it will not show in our result. The app which runs on the emulator, it will not show it there, because it's just for placeholding purposes. It's just a placeholder to view what's going on inside our text view, so we can modify the different properties here. So we will this will not show once our app installs and runs. Okay, now actually we can also define some text style. Let's make it a little bold, and the alignment, of course, which we will make it center. Okay, we can make it center, or we can define it from the other way. So let's first make it center. We can define the user enhancements in the upcoming sessions. Okay, now let's see, we want one more to display the total text, so let's just copy and paste. Okay, now this one is constrained to the button, so let's remove its constraints and make it constrained to this text view. Okay, and from the top we will select 8, I guess, or we can select any other. We will name the ID to total tax text. Okay, refactor. Total text. Okay, now we want some more modifications in this text views. Okay, first we want them to display the actual price. Okay, so we don't just want to them to display the just the gross price or total tax. We want them to display uh, the numbers actually beside the gross price. So it will display like this: gross price colon, and then like RS 20,000 or something. Okay, like this. So let's see what we can do to make it happen. Okay, so let's see. We can change the max lines here, the max lines attribute that I have told you in our previous sessions. We can change the max lines to actually uh, 3. Okay, and then for this text view we can also do it. So now what we can do is, see, we can create a new line here. This is a new line escape sequence. So backslash then n. Then we can display our result. Okay. See, gross price RS 20,000, then total tax, and then we can change it. Okay. So let's see how we can do it. So this will look like this. We can actually give it some background color also. So you can define the background color by searching the background and see, click this here. You can select from the material colors actually. So let's take the material 200, I guess. Is 200 good? 500. Okay. This background to, I guess, what, blue? Yeah, blue should do it. Okay. And then for a more contrasty feel, we can change the foreground color, that's the text color, to white. Okay, so let's select white color. Okay, these all are for hard-coded strings. The hard-coded strings can be extracted in the strings.xml file, as I have shown you here, the radio text 1, radio text 2, radio text 3. Okay, now moving on to the next section, which is adding the logic to how the app will actually function. Okay, when user will click the button. Actually we have, wait a second, we have forgot to modify the button. Okay, so set the button ID to like calc tax button. Okay, and let's say, where's the text? Set the text to calculate gross price. Okay, see, now the button is done, and now we can move on to the logic part. So we can add some logic to our main activity.kotlin file, and then we can move on to more enhancements in our UI and UX. Okay, so as the implementation of user interface is done and addition of layouts are done, let's move on to adding logic to our app. Okay, so we will add the basic functionality of how the tax is calculated and then displayed onto the two text views, the gross price and the total tax. Okay, let's move on. Okay, let's see how we can add the logic part to our UI and how actually scan the app function when the user inputs the correct text percentage from the radio button and the text input, the price input. So what we are seeing here is a view binding. Okay, now view binding is a feature that Android framework provides so that you can use it to reference the views ID in your app. Okay, so you can reference any ID that is added in your layout. Okay, so here, as you can see the binding object here, let's say we have a button, a text view, and the text edit view. Okay, now if we call for every view here, so find view by ID, find view by ID, if we find every view by this method here, find view by ID, the framework searches each and ID, okay, each and views in your app, and then outputs the result, okay, to that specific view. What binding object does, it already takes a list and creates an object of it, and then uses that object to reference the specific view that you have called. Okay, so if you are using a binding object in the activity main file or main activity, then it creates an activity main binding. We will use it in our GST app. So when it will create an activity main binding, we can use that object to reference any ID, okay, of the views in our layout. So this is a much more preferred method because it's faster. It's much faster. So let's see how we can add our view binding to our project. First, we can use this view binding build feature and add it to our build.gradle file. Now, which build.gradle file? We have to add it in our app build.gradle. See, GST Calculator.app build.gradle file. Here, search for there's no actually not build features, so we will copy just everything and make it here. You can remove the equal sign also. So as you can see here now, Gradle files have changed since last project sync. We have to sync your build or Gradle file by clicking sync now. Okay, it will take some time, download something and index something, and just it will enable the binding feature for our project. Now let's move on to our main.activity. Main activity.kotlin. Okay, so now what we can add here is this object, late init where binding. See, on the top of our onCreate function, okay, or as I can say in this at the start of our main activity class file, we can add privately. So it's a private object, so only this activity can use it, only main activity can use it. Private late init where, I will explain what late init means. Okay, where actually it's binding activity activity main binding. Wait a second. Let's see. It will import com.example.gstcalculator.data binding. See here, dot activity main binding. It automatically creates and imports it. So let's talk about this late init property, what it does. So what late init means is when we define any variable with the late init property, the Kotlin compiler tells that this binding will be initialized later inside the class. Okay, if it doesn't get initialized later inside the class, then it throws an error. Okay, your app doesn't compile. Your app compiles, but it creates a runtime error. Okay, so what we can do here is see, binding is equal to activity main binding dot inflate layout inflator. Now let's first initialize it, and then we will talk about the inflator. Activity main binding dot inflate. Okay, and then we will need layout inflator. What this does is select all the views in our layout and then parses it into an object, and then the binding object takes every view, and then we can reference it from this binding object. Okay, so wait a second, let me show you. If we do a dot here, see calc text button, gross price text, all the IDs, input price, or radio buttons, see R 0 to 5, R12, 18, 28, R5, or tax category, radio group, the text views, everything. Okay, so we can reference every ID from here. That gets added in our activity main.xml, or we can say layout. Now let's move on to the other part, which is set content view. Now we don't need the R here. Okay, r.layout.activity main. We will pass in or binding objects root. Okay, see the root here, constraint layout. We will pass the root, and it will automatically inflate the layout for us, and when the app gets run, then it can display the layout to the user. Okay, now this is the code that our logic uses. We will use something different because our app is different. So let's see. First we have to initialize, we can initialize our edit text or button. So let's see, initialization, let's say we can create a val, then we will say like input price button. Okay, which is a button, make sure to add that, which is a button, binding dot calc text button. Okay, so now we have our input price button, and we can set an action listener on it. So input price button dot, we can use set on click listener, and then we can provide a method for it. So override. So it will be a private function because only main activity can use this function. So private function, let's say calculate GST. Okay, so it's our function, and just for the test we can make a toast. So toast.make text, the context, first we have to pass the context. So this activity. Okay, show toast for this activity. This, now we have to pass the message, which is let's see, like calc button clicked. Okay, then we can pass the duration, so it can be toast dot of short duration, and then we can actually say dot show. Okay, it will show a toast which says calc button click when we click the button, and then we have to pass this calculate function inside it. So like this, easy. Okay, now let's run this app and see how it's functioning. Okay, on our emulator. Depending on your desktop or laptop speed, it may take a while because it first syncs all the files, Gradle files, and then the Gradle builds all the files. Okay, generates everything, and then installs the APK onto the emulator, or your device, if you're using an external device, then shows. We have a success message here, and here you go. Now, first of all, as you can see here, see this gross price, total tax, they're not displayed here. Okay, so these are only for placeholding purposes. We can use it to actually modify our text view. So the result, we can modify how the result will actually look. See, we can select the buttons also. Okay. User can enter a net price. If user clicks on here, see a number keyboard is open, not a alphanumeric or alphabetic keyboard. Okay, so user can input here, and then user can click calculate gross price and see the toast. Okay, now let's move on to building our app and adding more logic to it. Okay, no, we don't want to show a toast here right now, so let's see what we can do for our calculate GST. So when the user will calculate, when user will click here by selecting the tax category here and entering a net price, it will display a calculated gross price and the total tax here. So as you can see here in this file, let me show you. Here's the function calculate text. Okay, this function calculates the text. Now first, we have our net price here. So we will take the net price from our input price text. Okay, so let's take this inside our calculate text. What this will do is let's modify our binding dot input price dot text. Okay, now this will take the text of this edit text view, then it will convert to string. Okay, the number will be converted to string, and then it will again get converted to double or null. Okay, so I will show you why it's double or null, not double alone. Okay, so now what we want to do is we have taken the net price. Now we will take the radio button ID, which radio button is selected. Okay, for that we will use the when block. Okay, so when, then a condition, and then here, so not the condition actually, it takes a variable. So what it can take is binding dot, we will take actually the tax category group here. Okay, so just a second. Check radio button ID. Wait. Okay. Dot, then the check radio button ID. This will return an ID, okay, of the radio button which we are checking. Now we can compare it to different IDs. So let's just copy this quickly. Okay, now this will compare to the binding dot r025.id. If the first one is selected, the 0.25% one, then it will return 0.25. When R5 is selected, the second one is selected, and 5%, 12 is 12.0, 18 is 18.0, and so on. Okay, and then there is else one. You need else one. So if nothing is selected, okay, if the user just inputs the text and then calculates it, the tax, of course, the tax will be 0, and the gross price will be equal to the net price that user inputs, and the total tax will be 0. Now, what we can do here is this will return a double value. Okay, so we have to store a value somewhere. So we will say val let's say GST percent. Okay, GST percent, which is double. Oh yeah, that's okay. Now we got the GST percent also. Now we just have to do the calculation. Okay, you can you can format your code by going into the code and then reformat code, or you can use this Control Alt L. Okay, now let's see the actual logic. Okay, now the GST is calculated in the percentages. Copy this code here. Now, central GST. This is the central government GST. This is the state government GST. Now, we are taking the net price here into tax percentage, or we have named the variable here GST percentage. Okay, we multiply it by GST percentage. Okay, and then divided by 100. Then the state GST is equal to the central GST. The total tax is central GST plus state GST. Okay, so actually the total GST is calculated. Wait a second, this formula is a little wrong. This is the total GST actually, and just for the sake of simplicity, I'm creating some more variables here, so everything is just fine. Okay, state GST is equal to central GST. Now the gross price. The gross price is net price plus total GST. Okay. Now, as we can see here, there's an error here. It says unresolved reference GST percentage, because we have used the variable wrong. Okay, now let's see the error here. It says operator dot qualified not debt not price times GST percentage, which is not allowed in a label net price. Oh, okay. So it's saying that we can't use this percentage operator on our this net price. Okay, now this is the time the null comes here. Okay, so if we don't check for null before calculating, then it the net price can pass null here. Okay, and null into anything, it's just not good, and it will return an error. Okay, so let's check for null. If net price is equal to null, then do what? Let's see. Then we can show a toast. Okay, toast, pass in the context, passing the string which says invalid price input. Let's see. Okay. Invalid price input, then toast dot short length, then we will show the toast. Okay, simple. Now it's returning null also, so we can now return from this method and nothing happens. Okay, every error goes now. Actually we are only displaying the gross price and the total tax, so we don't need the central GST and the state GST yet. Okay, so everything is done, everything is good. Now let's see if this runs. Okay, so now what we will do is we will update the text for the result. Okay, so binding dot text, binding dot what we are saying first, the gross price text. We will update the gross price. So gross price dot to string. Okay, okay. So now we will update the total text. Total text dot text is equal to total GST dot to string. Okay, we have to convert it to string to be displayed in text view. Okay, now this will display just the numbers. Okay, not the gross price or the total tax heading. Okay, it will just display the numbers here. Now we don't want to do that. Okay, so what we can do here is we can use a string technique to actually display numbers in our string. Okay, then we don't need the toString function, it's already string. You can use it right here. Okay, like this. So gross price, and then we can use a new line operator here, then we can convert it to string like this. Total tax, new line. Okay, now it's showing two warnings to actually extract it to the strings.xml. Now we just want to run the app and see if it works. Okay, so we will just run the app. Now this null check is very important. Okay, if we don't check for null, then user can just click the button and the app will crash, resulting in a null error. Okay, okay, let's see. If we don't enter anything, okay, just click it, invalid price input. If we select the net price like 23000, and then click the gross price 23000.0, total tax nothing, because no tax category is selected yet. Okay, so let's select 12% and then click 25,760 and 2,760. Now we can see here it's working, but we will add more UI enhancements to it, and we will make it more beautiful so that user can feel more consistent with it. Okay, so before doing it, I will do one more thing actually. So it can display it in a localized form. So here we are displaying the GST in form of Indian rupee. Okay, so we need the Indian rupee sign to be displayed beside the gross price. So let's see how we can do that. For in foreign countries, we can use, like dollar sign or any other sign that they use for their currency. This is one more thing. This is the error. See, java.lang.number format exception input is string. This will return an error if you don't check for null here. Okay, so make sure you do that for every input in your app. And now let's see this function, format currency. The format currency function, this number format class does is format for specific currency and the ISO code. The Indian ISO code for the currency is INR. Okay, so we will format the currency for INR and then return the output in form of a string. Okay, so we will just copy this function and allow me to tell you that first we will declare a value format of number format, and then we will get the currency instance. Then we will put some properties in place. The format maximum fraction digits 0, so it doesn't actually display point in the currency. Then format.currency, currency.get instance ISO code INR. Okay, so it will format it for Indian rupee, and then it will return the string. Now let's see the errors. Okay, it's saying that requires API annotation. Oh, okay. So yeah, now it's saying that this number format, it's for the API level, a minimum API level of above 24. Okay, so the minimum should be 24. So you can modify that API level in your Gradle script, app.gradle script. See here, min SDK version 23. You can modify it to 24. Okay, and then sync it. The minimum gets synced and the error goes. Okay, now let's call this function format currency, and it takes a number as int. Let's see if we can pass the double. Yeah, we can pass it. So let's see, format currency, and then again format currency. Okay, now it will format the currency according to the ISO code and then display it in with the specific comma and punctuation. Okay, now let's run this app and see if everything is working. Okay, so let's say the user selects 5% and then enters a net price of 15,000 and then click calculate. Okay, see, the comma is placed and the sign is displayed, the rupee sign. See, this is how we can format the currency and display it in a more beautiful form, so the user can understand how it's actually displayed. So now this logic part is done. Now this UI looks a little bit more blunt. Now we can actually modify it using material component to make it look more user friendly and more usable. Okay, so let's make some UI enhancements to it. So as we have completed our logic part, So basically our app is completed, but there is some more polishing left to the user interface and the user experience. So let's see how we can do it to make it more user friendly. Okay, so let's begin this section with the polishing our UI experience for the user. So the app feels more intuitive and more beautiful. So let's start with icons. Okay, so the default icon that is included with the Android Studio is this one, of the Android logo, and then a green background. Okay, so starting from Android 8.0 release, the Android Oreo, or we can say API level 26, Android supports adaptive launcher icons. Okay, so as you can see in this GIF, the foreground is the Android logo and the background is this blue background. Okay, so if we put together on the top and then crop it like circle, then it it makes the icon more adaptive and according to the guidelines of the launcher icons of the Android. Okay, so inside the project window you will see a map directory. So if we can see in our GST app, okay, there is a map directory in our resources folder. If you open it, you can see IC launcher folder and IC launcher round folder. IC launcher is the default square icon and the round is the circle icon. Okay, and these are the different sizes: HDPI, MDPI, XHDPI, XX, triple, and any DPI. This is an XML file. Okay, let me explain what these means. Okay, so if we look at the backgrounds, see, this is how the adaptive icon looks when it's configured for our app. So it can behave, the app's icon can behave like a circle, rounded square circle, a square with round shapes, perfect square. Okay, and then for small DPIs like this, small icons. Okay, so here they have added a new icon. I've already added an icon for the test GST app that I built, and it's in the rest folder, map. See, okay, so as you can see here, we can test around with different images for our launcher icons. It is generally recommended to use a vector asset so the icon scales properly on every Android device. So let's add this GST app icon into our app first, because the default is the round icon, this. Okay, so we don't have to do anything. We can just even right click on the rest and then new Android resource file. Okay, or we can go onto the map, right click and then new. From here we can select the vector asset or image asset. Okay, so our icon is not a vector asset, it's an image asset. So we can select the image asset and see it automatically determines what is the icon type, which is launcher icons, adaptive and legacy. You can select here anything, but we are selecting for launcher icons, so we can select it here. Then we have to select the image. Okay, so for image, I have located mine. Let me quickly jump into the directory to show you. The default is the desktop. Okay, so as you can see here, it automatically crops your image and fits it into every shape possible. So you can also resize them here, so it looks a little bit more perfect, or you can just leave it to the default. Okay, so I will resize it to let's say 85%. Okay, and then it's the foreground layer. Okay, then we can also select the background layer. For background, we don't have to select an image, we can select a color. So the default color is green, as you can see. We have to select some bluish color, so we will select like this color, choose, and now the color fits, the background fits more perfectly with the foreground. Okay, and then you can just click next. Then it will show all the files that will change in your directory for every app size, every screen size your app will run on. Then you can just click finish, and it will update all the launcher icons for your app. See, it automatically chooses and crops for circle icons and for square icons. The Android Studio does it automatically, you don't have to do anything. Okay, now after the icons, what we are going to do is we are going to create a more polished user experience. Okay, so let's see, our app looks like this on the first view. Okay, so we can add an icon here, okay, which will be an image asset, then an icon for this edit text view, then an icon for this button, and then we will make some more changes so that our app behaves more intuitively to the user. Now we can move on to material components. So what are material components? They are common UI widgets that make it easier to implement material styling in your app. These are developed by Android developers. So the consistency of these widgets is same across every Android platform. Okay. For material support, you can add this implementation in your app build.gradle dependencies. So if you open this app and go to our build.gradle, you can see here there's already an implementation of com.google.android.material.material. Okay, and the version is 1.2.1. so the Android Studio automatically adds it. Okay, so you don't have to worry about it. So what we can do in our GST Calculator app is we can switch the text fields with the Android default one with the material one. Okay, so there are two types of text fields available in Material UI. First one is it's a fill text field, and then the other one is outline text field. Okay, it looks like this when selected, when unselected, and this is the outline text field, selected, unselected. So these two text fields come with a layout. Okay, so first you have to define a layout, and then you have to define the edit text field like this. First the com.google.android and then the text input layout, and then you have to define the actual input edit text. So what we have to do here in our app is we have to replace this with the material one. Okay, so if we click split and go to our edit text, here it is. Okay, so we have to replace this with the material one. So let's see, first we have to create a layout. Okay, so if we edit, it's com.google.android.material. Okay, material.text, it's material text field, material.text field,
And this is the layout. Then inside the layout, we can define some properties of the layout. So like the ID and the layout width and layout height, and an Android hint. So there's no string defined for it, so let's just say enter net price. Okay, and then we can take the text input, edit text inside it. Okay, now okay, so as you can see here, there's a new text field added. So now what we have to do is we have to constrain it. So let's first put it down here, and let's see how we can constrain it. Oh, actually the layout was not positioned, so I'll just reposition it. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to position it according to this radio view. Okay, so let's look at the constraints of this text view first. So see the constraints. You can just copy these constraints into this input layout. Okay, so the constraint will be copied and everything will remain the same. See, it moves down here. Now what we can do is delete this edit text, and let's say we have to wait a second, we have to also change its ID. So the other constraints which the button is constrained to is kept. So let's say input price. Okay, and let's just delete this. Okay, see, everything is constrained now. Now as you can see, we have to give some margin, and we can do it actually in the design panel. Okay, so just select the layout, and then we can give 16 from here, 16 from here, and 16 from downwards. Okay, so here you go, you have a material text view inside your layout. Okay, so let's see, this button, this was originally constrained for the original text view, but now it's a little bit shifted, so let's fix it. Okay, so let's first delete the constraint here and then constrain it again to here. This is deleted. Okay, so the layout tends to shift a little bit. Wait a second, we'll fix it. Okay, so what we can do here is we can set the constraint to the parent left and to the parent right of the button. Okay, and not set it on the material. So see, this moves to the right, to the left, and then we can set the constraint to the right, and now we can give some margin, 16 here, 16 here, and now it looks okay. Now let's see what else we have to do. First we have to extract the string, of course. So we can do it actually later. First implement the functionality. So what we have to do is first take the input from the material edit text. Okay, so let's see if the ID is okay. Yeah, So we have to add an ID first. So go to the code and then here type Android ID. Okay, and you can give it any ID. So let's see, input price text. Okay, let's give it this ID, and then we will call this ID from our binding object. So input price text. Okay, and now it's okay. We have completely implemented the material text input layout. Okay, so let's see, switches, icons. Now let's see how we can add icons like these in our GST calculator app. Okay, so what we have to do is now add vector drawable assets. Okay, and then after the vector drawable asset, we can design them in our layout. Okay, place them in our layout with the help of this image view. So let's see how we can do that. First we have to import the vector drawable asset, of course. The default drawables are the launcher background. Okay, so we can actually go ahead and delete it. See, these are the default vector drawable asset for the previous, you know, launcher icon, which by default our Android app has. So let's remove it, and where is the remove one? Yeah, delete, save, delete, save, delete. Okay, now right click here, new, and then vector asset. Okay, then what we can do is actually search for a clip art. Okay, so in here we have, well, wait, let's open it. Wait a second. Yeah, so in our test GST app there is one asset of this calculator icon, this category icon, and this Indian rupee symbol. Okay, so these are the three assets I have already imported in this app. So you can just go ahead and choose any clip art from new vector asset and this clip art option. Okay, and just click next and import it. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is copy these quickly, refactor, and here we go. Okay, we have successfully added it in our app. Now what we have to do is implement them in our layout. So for implementing them, we have to use an image view. Okay, now let's place an image view on an empty layout. Let's see, and select it. So first we have to select the category one. Okay, and see, it's now drawn in our layout perfectly. Now what we have to do is we have to match the constraints of this icon with this select text category. Okay, so let me zoom in to show you what's really happening. Okay, so let's move this a little bit here. Oh, yeah, let's keep it here, and then what we can do is we can match the left to parent. Okay, the top to the top of this select text category text view, and the bottom to the bottom one. It will center this icon or the image view with this text view. Okay, and then what we can do is delete the constraint of this text view, and then we can constraint it to our image view, and then select some margin from here, let's say 16, and we can also select the image view margin, let's say 16, or let's make it 8. Okay, now our first icon is done. Now moving on to our next icon. Okay, the rupee symbol. So let's just take another image view here, select it, and it's placed. Let's quickly constrain it to parent. This one here, the bottom one to the bottom of this net price. It positions itself automatically. Now we have to delete this left constraint and then constrain the input price layout. To this icon. Now let me quickly. So now let's adjust this icon size of the image view, so it fits well with our first icon here. So let's just say we can give 25 dp to the layout width and 25 dp to the layout height. Okay, then we have to add another icon for calculate gross price button. So let's just add another image view here and or calculate. Okay, now let's just constrain it quickly. So this goes here, this goes here, and this goes here. Okay, now it's constrained perfectly. We can delete this button constraint from here and then constrain it to our image view. Okay, then make some a margin from the left and then also button margin like that. So now as you can see, everything is consistent. What we can do is delete this matching constraint, so this fits perfectly with our screen. So let's make it 16. Okay, good. And also let's make it like 24 or even 32. Okay, 32 is good. Now yeah, it looks a little bit better than the previous version. Okay, and now all these modifications are done. Let's change the strings from hard-coded to the strings XML file. So let's just quickly do it. Let's see, first one is here, text tags category. You can just click Alt Enter here, next text string resource name, select text category. So, like this, next text category. Click OK. Then what we can do is internet price. It's a hint, so we will name it the input price hint. Okay. Then the button one, so say calc button. Let's see, the image attribute is missing content description. Okay, so we can add the content description also for this image. So let's just quickly do Android content description. Let's say what is this image view for? This is the text category. Okay, category text view icon. Okay, then extract it. Icon text 1. Then you can add here also content description. What is this for? Input price. Input price. Then one more last one here, Android content description. Then this is for calc text button. So calculate button icon. Okay, now everything is consistent, and we can move on to some more user interface handling. Okay, so let's just quickly close promote test GST. Sorry. Let's move on to the main activity. Okay, so what we are going to do now is we have already formatted the currency. So what we are going to do now is use what's called the string formatting. So what is string formatting? Well, you can, as you can see here, I am calling the getString Kotlin function on this r.string dot gross price text. Okay, and then comma format currency. What this does is this adds these two strings and then passes them to the gross price text. See here, gross price text, the double new line characters, and then %s. The %s is for string. Okay, so it denotes that our program will explicitly pass the string here, so then the text view can display our string and the result of the gross price. So let's just add the string formatting in our app. As you can see here, also the compiler is also, you know, giving the hint: do not concatenate text displayed with set text, use resources string with placeholders. Okay, so %s is like a placeholder. So let's see, we have to update the gross price text. Okay, so let's first just open the strings.xml file, then let's first separate everything so it looks okay. The text category, input price, hint, calc button text, icon texts, and let's say where is our binding.gross price text.text. So actually yeah, there is no price set here, so let's just string name gross price text. Okay, then we can give gross price and one time actually, and then %s. And then we can do another string, total text total text. X. Okay, now this will display our result in a much good manner. So we can use get string here. Okay, get string. Then we have to pass the ID. So r dot id dot actually so r dot string dot string of yeah, it was the gross. Then we have to pass the format currency gross price. Okay, then we can use the get string here also. Get string r dot string dot let's say total text format currency and then local GST. Okay, this will do the job just fine. Now let's first run our app and let's see if everything is working, and then we can move on to some more parts. Okay, let's see. So now what we are going to do next is add a click listener to our keyboard. Okay, now as you can see here, there is styles and themes. We are not covering that. You can just head on to this course of the new programming track and then check it out here. Okay, now what we can do here is we have to add a scroll view also outside the constraint layout. So if we rotate our device, the constraint layout just doesn't get messed up. Okay, and then we will hide the keyboard when pressing the enter key. Okay, if someone is using a keyboard, and then we will also hide the keyboard when someone press the calculate button. If they enter some amount in our GST and they enter it, it will not get, the keyboard will not go down. So they have to manually click the button to keep the keyboard down. Okay, so as you can see here, for our result, a percentage s which we added in our strings.xml for the placeholder is also displayed here. Okay, so what we can do is create two other strings for the placeholder values without the percentage s sign. Okay, so let's just quickly name it placeholder. Remove the percentage s and let's keep the n, new line with the percentages. Then we can use that placeholder in our text views. Okay, so placeholder. Then we can refresh the UI and see if it's working. Oh, okay, we have to restart the app. Okay, so as you can see here now, there is no percentages because it's using the placeholder value. But if we enter something inside, then we can see that, oh, okay, this keyboard is opening up. Wait a second. We didn't set the input type in our material text. So let's just do it. Go to the input edit text type and then select number. Okay. Here. Click apply. Then just refresh your app or reload the app. Okay. Now we are good. Let's see. 2, 3, 5, 6. calculate. See, if we click a button, the keyboard doesn't go down automatically. We will fix that. Okay, so now it's working. Now let's see how we can make the keyboard go down. Okay, so let's go on to the main activity and add some functions. So this is a handle key event function which takes in a view and a key code, which is the enter key. So this we are doing this for the enter key. Okay, let's add this function to the bottom, and we will call this function from the calc button. Okay, so what we can do here is the calculate button. So actually, let's see if we have set the click listener binding.calc button. Yeah. So what this will do is pass the view, okay, the existing view, to the handle key event method, which is right here. Okay, and then it will say that you can go ahead and move the keyboard down. Okay, it's done. So let's just refresh the app and see if it works. Okay, new method requires an app restart. Okay, let's see. 18% GST cost, 4521. And then if we click the button, the keyboard goes down and the result gets printed. Okay, now we have the perfect app. Now we can just simply calculate any GST price user intuitively and more performative with the material UI widgets and the Android framework. Okay, so you can make more modifications like I made to this activity main, as you can see here. Go into the design and zoom in. Okay, I made two linear layouts and then place these in here and display some more. This is an outline text view, so text edit, sorry. So you can just go here if you want to change it. Okay, go to the design panel and select the input price and just open the attribute section, move down here, box background mode, it's filled. You can change it to outline. Okay, outline takes more space, and just I think refresh will do it. Yeah, refresh will do it. Okay, okay, so this is how you can build a more intuitive and polished UI in this. So this section ends and let's see what's left. Okay, now the app is done. It's Q&A time. You can leave your comments in the comment section and ask anything you want about this GST Calculator app and the sessions in general. Okay, so you can continue learning on these provided links. I will be attaching them to the Google Drive, and the app you can find the app on the GitHub link I will be providing on the social media platform, and it's also in the description box. So thank you those who you have tuned in for this session. Make sure you practice by making your own simple apps, because practice in the right direction always makes perfect. Okay, and don't forget to follow us on different social media handles, and if you are new here, hit that subscribe button. Okay, so you don't miss any further live streams and updates. and we'll be meeting again in our next and last session. Till then, goodbye.